What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Canadian Football Fanatics. Episode 31 coming at you guys today. Super excited for this one. Having a good old friend on the podcast today. Should be a good time reminiscing about some old football stories. But before we get to my guests on today's episode, I hope everybody enjoyed their Easter long weekend with family and friends and some good food and hopefully some good chocolate as well. With Easter weekend past, obviously we had the CFL Combine this past weekend. Go over to the YouTube channel, check out our recap as well as our preview live streams over there on the YouTube channel. All the support has been greatly appreciated. I know everyone really enjoyed the recap with JC Abbott. So go check that out over on the YouTube channel as well. Head on over to the Instagram. We are now at 155 followers. Let's try to get that up to maybe 200, let's say, in the next month or so. A lot of support has been shown over the Instagram, so really appreciate that. Everybody checking that out. As well, head on over to the YouTube, Apple Podcast, follow, download, rate, review the episodes on Apple Podcast, YouTube, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. When you guys subscribe, make sure you guys hit the little notification bell so you guys don't miss any content on the channel. All right, let's get into it. Episode 31. My guest on today's episode is two-time All Canadian in the CJFL for your Vancouver Island Raiders, an AUS All-Star out at St FX, a West Coast boy moved out east. Cole Virtanen joining me on the podcast today. Cole, thanks for joining me. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me. This is gonna be awesome.
Like I said, an old friend of mine, started, I guess, as rivals, if you want to call it, but grew a friendship, and just a good friend of mine that kind of began through the game of football, which kind of is so great that the game kind of brings us closer to people that maybe you wouldn't expect at first. So let's start there, Cole. Obviously, you grew up out here in Nanaimo. Maybe introduce the people a little bit, kind of just tell them where you grew up, where you went to school, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I was actually born in Ladysmith, down in a little south of Nanaimo, and I was down there and I tried all the sports, did everything I could, but nothing was sticking. I was a little chubby, short guy, right? Nothing was going on good for me for any sports wise, but me and my brother started, and we just decided to join the Barsby Flag League one spring. And then and there we started having a lot of fun with the game and traveling up to Nanaimo to play football. And just great. Football is an amazing sport because you end up getting so many friends like me and you over the time. But like that's where I really started gaining a lot of friends and have a lot of fun. And then so I just, after spraying a flag, we just continued on to tackle, and it was game over from there. I love football from there. I started off as a center, I played O-line for my first year, and then just want to keep getting better. And and then played at Barsby, went to John Barsby Secondary School, and played there and had a great career. Moved on to VI and VI Raiders, and then out here to St FX.
Yeah, so we will get into that. But let's start with, I guess, if you want to call it maybe the foundation of kind of who you are as a person, who you are as a football player. You kind of already mentioned, your brother and stuff like that, but, somebody else that I admire as well as, your mother, and kind of, I feel like somebody that's a big part of your backbone and your strength. Can you maybe talk a little bit about your relationship with your mom and brother and kind of how they grew, yourself as a person, kind of your work ethic, your habits and stuff like that, and how they really were a key part of you growing up into the person you are today?
Yeah, I mean, my mom is a saint, so I grew up in a single mother household, right? And it was just me, my brother, and my mom. And my mom would encourage me to follow any type of dream, right? And I was always a guy that would dedicate myself to whatever I'd really liked and really dive into it. And I think that's who I am as a person. And my mom instilled in me to just follow any passion and dream, and it was football. For all of my life, it was always as soon as I started playing, it was everything was geared towards football, and my mom fully supported me. She did the most that she could possibly do for me, and I thank God every day for And I followed along with my brother. He also played as well at Barsby. And the thing about me is I'm extra competitor. I'm super dedicated to the game, and everything in my life was dedicated towards football. What I ate, what I watched, what I did, any extra sports was to get better for football. Like that was my life, and it continued on forever. And I'm still part of the game, So like that's if I could say anything, that's probably me. Just dedicated, and I got the best support system in my mom, my family, my brother, and like my fiance supports me in everything I do too. So
You talked about dedication, how you watch what you ate and all that stuff. I feel like the discipline that kind of your mom instilled as well, kind of being familiar with kind of going over to your house and stuff like that, seeing how she'd stay on you with kind of how you ate and stuff like that. I remember kind of one summer not really doing any off-field training myself, but kind of going to the track at ND and stuff with you, and how she kind of supported you in that way of kind of off-field training and stuff like that, and discipline, and kind of, I guess, can you talk about that, I guess, too, of kind of her background of physical fitness, I guess, and kind of how she instilled discipline in you to stay, for a young 15, 16-year-old, it's probably hard to be that disciplined, go to the gym, maintain your your proteins and stuff like that, eating right and stuff like that. And you were a very strong kid for your age, I feel like, growing up. So could you talk a bit about that aspect as well?
Yeah. So my mom, she was a lifeguard when I was really young, but she also did bodybuilding for a little while. And so when I was growing up, I can remember being grade 1 and 2 and doing push-ups and sit-ups in between commercials and stuff. Like I just want to be strong, just like my mom. She was building her body up. Like my daycare was in the gym that she trained in. So like that's like I was always around fitness, and she always pushed me being active, because I was also a little bit like, I was a very good kid, but I was very like active, right? I always needed to be doing something, so I didn't get myself in any trouble. And like my mom was great at that and pushed that stuff really hard. And and the thing about it is that I wanted it. I wanted to be pushed, and I always wanted to push myself. So yeah, like, so that was my foundation really young, getting put like my daycare, being in the gym, seeing all these athletic people, and my mom being a bodybuilder. And then throughout high school, yeah, man, like everything was geared. And she knew how much I was dedicated to football. So she knew that everything that we were going to do was based around football. We had to have equipment as much as we can, as much as we could afford throughout all my life. And food was the big thing, because like while I started off as a little chubby guy, I started sprout out, and then I was always smaller for my size. I wanted to be a linebacker, right? So I was small, undersized, right? So I know every off season I would be trying to put on as much weight as I could, and she would do the best, mix all these. I remember taking protein pancakes. She would get like protein powder, make protein pancakes, and that's how I bring to school and stuff, so I can, get that little extra protein and get some size on me.
Shout out to Danielle, man. Like you mentioned, a saint of a woman, and just a hell of a mom for sure. A single mom. Shout out to the single moms out there. So, bringing it back, I guess, to your athleticism and stuff. You already talked about your competitiveness. You're an ultimate competitor that I know very well from our days going to Georgia. But you also mentioned about kind of your other sports, and when football season was over, you kind of get right into the next sport and kind of treat that like an off-season training for football, for whether it was your conditioning, whatever it may be. But can you talk a bit about your competitive nature side? Like I mentioned, of our days kind of going to Georgia, I do have good and bad memories of getting dunked on and stuff like that. But I did kind of admire that side of you as well, coming from ND, and kind of how I mentioned of us starting as kind of, I guess, if you want to call it rivals, but going to kind of rival high schools, I guess, is more probably accurate of what to say. But really admire that side, and kind of I don't know, I guess, learn from you as well, and kind of really took that side of you. So could you talk about your kind of competitive nature side of you?
Yeah, man. Like, I mean, easiest way to say it was that, like, I always wanted to win, like coming from Barsby, like I know we didn't lose a game until like grade 10, we lost one, grade 11, we lost one, grade 12, we lost one. And each one of those we got on ourselves for losing that stuff. And like we had a good solid group of guys. I gotta commend all the guys that I played with. Matt Tyler Hill, Riley Harris, North Rainey, Trent Anderson, all those boys, Nathan Bowe, everybody. It was crazy. We banded together, and we always wanted to like do the extra stuff, and also because it was fun, right? So we would always put together games and try and get on the field or go and do extra stuff, go play basketball, whatever it was. And it was always a competition, it was always for, pride and trying to beat each other, right? And yeah, man, like I think for me, I took it a little bit step further. My always philosophy growing up was that I didn't only want to put the work in when everyone else was. I always wanted to do stuff that I knew that nobody else was going to be doing it that day, right? So like I know if I went on vacation, like I would be working out on vacation because I know if someone else that I was going to play this year, they went on vacation, they'll probably be taking a light. So I'd be doing beach workouts down in Mexico and trying to find a gym and stuff. And or like even during the year, I would be like, I know ain't no one getting up at 4 a.m. today. I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. before everyone and go get some work in and then still go to school and work out and practice and all this stuff and still push myself even harder. And like that was really instilled in myself and supported by my family and everyone. But like I just took it that extra level and I always wanted to do that, that work that nobody else is seeing, right?
Absolutely. And it's paid off to this point for sure, man. So getting back onto the football field, let's say you kind of get into grade 8 there, you enter John Barsby High School. Obviously you guys end up winning your first championship of kind of your high school years in grade 8 there. You get into grade 9 and you're playing with, in JV, but you ultimately kind of are one of the younger JV guys that are kind of, leaned upon and kind of asked to play a bigger role in the team start. Talk a little bit about that year. You end up obviously beating Mission in the JV AA provincial championship in BC Place. Talk a little bit about that year, how much fun that was for you guys to win your first high school championship, obviously coming off a grade 8 championship where it's only kind of playing island teams. And then as well, kind of playing with some older guys that you maybe looked up to, like a Sean Arabsky, Kyle Vellet, some of those guys as well.
Yeah, man, like that, like those guys, they were ultimate leaders as well. They like the one thing I can always say about Barsby is that like that generation of guys, the few years above us, couple years below us, like we had some leaders that knew how to play the game right, knew what it took to win. We did the absolute most for each other, played as a great team. We had a lot of amazing memories during that year. Grade 9 was a great year. We had a lot of fun, I got to be on the field, which was great. I totally wasn't like not 100% expecting to play like as a starter on defense. But as soon as I got the opportunity, I ran with it, played my heart out. The championship is amazing. Getting to play first time at BC Place and seeing the big stadium and all this stuff, it was absolutely amazing. I personally didn't have the best game that year, to be honest. I remember blowing the coverage and stuff. I did make a couple big hits, as I do. But, like, I was a little bit upset with myself, and I was the competitor in me. We won the game, and I was like, man, that a couple plays that I really didn't get a good play in. Like, I know that still sticks with me to this day. Like, I remember being like, I got to put in even more work because now I'm going to be the leader next year, one of the leaders next year too. So I need to step up my game, Like, it wasn't like, oh, we're done, we won. Like, we got to take this to another level.
I'm curious how you talked about kind of, coming in, not obviously having a ton of confidence in your ability and stuff like that, but not really expecting to maybe start or kind of contribute in the way you did. Knowing you kind of been talking about your athleticism and stuff like that, playing multiple sports and stuff like that, you talked about you starting as an offensive lineman, as a little center back in the day. Now, people probably know you primarily as a defensive back nowadays, right? But some of the most, I don't want to keep kind of complimenting you here too much, Cole, but some of the most, natural hands as well and stuff like that. I know you played a little bit of receiver in high school. You kind of really enjoyed the pregame one-hand catches and stuff like that. But talk a little bit about how you probably found, maybe you wanted to play defensive back in maybe grade 9 or stuff like that, but you found a way to kind of fit in. You talked about playing linebacker and being a little bit smaller, so kind of being shifted around the secondary as well. When did that start for you, kind of realizing that you could play kind of pretty much anywhere? You played it obviously at running back, receiver on offense, linebacker in the secondary, kind of safety all over. So when did that start, and when did you realize that you could kind of just be a key piece into any offense or defense and just fit anywhere?
Yeah, so I mean, like, I love the fact that I started at O-line, because O-line, it teaches you to be the nitty-gritty guy, not take a lot of praise and just like do the work and take pride in it. And that's what we really did. And that was, my first year of Pee Wee. And I remember finishing that season, and I went up to Coach Larry Cooper, OG, one of the greatest coaches I've ever had. And I was like, I want to like try and play another position. I want to either play fullback or linebacker. And so I just put in as much work as I possibly could, got to be able to like get a little faster. And then it was working on the hands was a big thing. And you say I got natural hands. And like, while I'd like to agree with you, it was work, man. I grew up with exchange students. Every year we'd have an exchange student, and I would teach them how to throw football, because I would go out after school every single day and make them throw me balls until the sun went down every single day, 4 or 5 hours trying to catch the ball. So like that was putting in work. I also had one of those bounce back balls. It's like half a football. I like wore that thing out because I would go down by myself if no one else could come play pass with me, and go and try and catch as many possible balls as I could. I got the one hands and stuff, but that was all practice. I didn't really have that at the start. I had to work for that once. But yeah, and then like progressing on to different positions, it was really just like my determination to be good in whatever position that coaches need from me. I obviously wanted to always play running back and linebacker. That was my main twos in the high school. But anything that they asked of me, I would do. I actually really started playing receiver in grade 11 because they wanted me to just crack block the ends. That was my big thing, is because I could hit really hard back then. So they would put me in a receiver just to crack block. But then, like, they could see how I can actually run routes and catch. So they started giving me some more pass patterns. But, yeah, like that, it was just, I think the biggest thing with football is like, you've got to accept and excel in any role that you are asked to do, right? You got to be able to play. Like, you might have wanted to be quarterback, or you want to be a receiver and all this stuff. But if you get asked to be put in anywhere, like, you better go and succeed so you can have more trust from the coaches. So that I took that on full-heartedly throughout my whole career.
Absolutely. So you end up winning your first championship, like I mentioned, in grade 9. Let's talk about, obviously, everybody's nickname, the Factory, John Barsby Football Factory. What makes the program so special? Obviously, a ton of talent, like you mentioned, coming before you, after you, and kind of just what I guess is the tradition there of kind of winning football and how it's always been a great program.
Yeah, man. So it starts way before me. It starts way before any of my group that came in. The biggest thing that I can say is that it's the pride that the guys have that go through the position, the factory, as you call it. All right, and to come back and help these young guys that we're in the same position as them, so that they can get better and instill the like morals, the work ethic, and everything it needs to be a good program. Like, I remember Pee Wee Junior Band having older guys come in and coach us, and they really instilled what it takes to be a John Barsby football player. Like, we took it on as we're different than everybody. We are nitty gritty, down and dirty. We'll do anything it takes to win. And we, like, the thing I'll say about our group that we have going through is we took that on. Like, we took it on as a challenge and as pride, and we needed to do the best we can to like and do the extra work to be able to be like to like make the older guys proud of us as well, and I think that's just continues, now, like, we're getting older and we go through and we got guys going back so that they can start bringing back the old ways that we have, right? Like, and teach them the ways that we were taught how to play the game. Like, I talk with the coaches all the time. Like, I was kind of old style football player in a new age for football. Right when I got here to X, it was because of Barsby. It's because I was down for anything. I was down for contact, that's for sure. And like I was not scared of it, and that's what like made me a good player, right? And that's just installed into the Barsby players. Like I'm a little bit outside of the game now. I'm over here in Nova Scotia, but I know that the guys that I played with that are taking over, they're gonna bring some of the stuff that we had, the mentality that we had that was instilled in us, and that's the key. It like for any good program to continue on and continue to be good, it takes people coming back and caring about the game and not being, the superstar that's making the plays, the one that's coaching these guys to play the game right and to be able to be good football players.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to the boys, North, Nate, Austin, Sheldon. I know they have an idea that we're going to film an episode, but I didn't tell them, so I'm hoping to surprise them and hope the boys enjoy the episode. I know they will. Hopefully, maybe have the boys on one big episode one day. Definitely hoping to get the Stevensons on. That's definitely a goal for down the road.
That would be amazing. Those two, like, they shaped BC football overall. Like, the two of them have, like, taken the game. Like, if without those two brothers, there would not be football in Vancouver Island or BC the way it is now, right?
Absolutely, man. Love to get a round table on maybe one time and reminisce about some old stories. But shout out to the boys, like you mentioned, big part. I think that's why you guys have such a big upper hand on kind of programs around. Specifically kind of where I went as well, right? There's no grassroots anymore at ND, right? With Pee Wee, Junior Bantam or anything like that. That's kind of why the programs I feel like died off. So definitely hat tip to you guys, why you guys are so great and why you guys do that the right way. So getting back into things, grade 10, I would say probably this is where our rivalry starts to pick up a little bit, but also our friendships off the field start to kind of gain a little momentum as well. Both teams kind of come into that year kind of wanting some success. Both teams have a little bit of success. Obviously, you guys get the upper hand on us in the regular season. Go on. I believe we end up kind of both falling short in the semifinals. I don't remember exactly if it was the same weekend, but talk a little bit about that year, how you guys also, for the first time, I don't know if that was your first loss in high school, but, winning grade 8, winning grade 9. I talked about it with North when I had him on the podcast. That's, the year of you guys kind of not going for the 5-peat, if you will, and kind of having 5 for 5 in high school. So talk a little bit about how much fun that year was, because I know obviously you guys had a ton of fun with you guys becoming leaders as the older JVs on the team. Talk about how fun that was, but also how disappointing that was not being able to capture another provincial championship, obviously having enough talent. And just tell us a little bit about that grade 10 year.
Yeah, man, grade 10 was a fun year, I will say. And it's definitely one that I block out of my memory a little bit because we lost in the semifinal game. And we, like we said, we don't like to lose, but it was a great opportunity for us to step up as leaders and really test ourselves and what it takes to win in those big games. Like we had so many great guys ahead of us, and like that led us to that championship when we were in grade 9. And when we were in grade 10, we really wanted to prove ourselves. But unfortunately, the way the game works, sometimes you fall short. And we took that as a challenge. We took it on the chin, and we just said, you know what? Like, obviously, we need to work harder. We need to come closer as a team, and we need to do that extra stuff so we can be successful moving forward. And yeah, man, you're bringing a lot of memories of losing games, but like that was our first loss, and I know we took that one hard. But I will commend us for being able to bounce back, because I know we were training probably the next day, ready for that next season, waiting to get back at it.
A lot of motivation going into grade 11. You're starting to gain some momentum as well as kind of a known player in BC. You're starting to kind of get, into the recruiting realm of things now, going into grade 11 and stuff like that. You're reunited with that older kind of group, a very talented group, specifically on defense, a loaded, 11 starters there that you can name a lot of guys that were all-star caliber players, especially in the back seven there, linebacker, defensive back. So talk about kind of that year. You guys obviously end up winning your first senior championship, varsity championship. and how much fun that was to win in grade 11.
Yeah, man. Grade 11 was a great year. We had a lot of fun. I felt like that was a year that I was coming into my own, especially on defense. That's where I started to really take strides, I was always a big hitter, I was always making big hits. But I think that year I really started to set myself apart from some guys. And, we had a cast, man. You could, put that team up against a lot of different teams over the years. And we were up there. We played some good football, but we also did it right. We played for each other. I know we went through. We had a great year. I think we lost one game, but it was to Lord Tweesmere or something. That was so it's like kind of an exhibition game. But we were upset with that loss big time, and so we knew we just needed to keep working and get closer as a team. And then then we get to the semifinal game. We play against Mission, and we know that they are also a powerhouse. Throughout the whole time, it was always Barsby versus Mission in big games. And we lost to them in the semifinals the year before at junior varsity. So we're playing another group. We're just following along with the Jesse Walker crew. And so we wanted to get some get back. But we had amazing offense. Brennan Parker was one of our best running backs. He was an absolute beast. But he got injured late in that game. And I remember being on that field, and I was a receiver at that time. And I remember coming together in that huddle and we got to win this one for we used to call him Steve. But we got to win this one for Steve. So we put on a game-winning drive, and went out to get the win. I was able to make a couple plays on that drive too, so I felt like I was really holding it down for our team and had a lot of pride. But I didn't really take it selfishly at that at all. I was really just wanted to make plays for our team for us to win and win it for Steve after that. He got an injury, so it was a great year. And we go into the championship. We play a great team. And they had some superstars on that team. Another very, very close game. And it came down to final drive again. And I got to make the big catch for the touchdown. Not the game winner, technically. We had to go for it was funny. Barsby, if anyone doesn't know about Barsby, at that time, we really didn't kick field goals. We wouldn't kick extra points. We would try not punt. So Coach Stevenson comes out on the field for his decision in between extra point to tie it or 2 point to go to win. And all the boys were like, let's go. We're going for two. Our bread and butter toss play to Kyle Vallette. And we just blocked as hard as we possibly could, got him in the end zone. And the celebration after that, it was the best. That was when I started to feel like I was coming into my own. And probably one of my most prideful moments because like I said, I didn't have the best game of my life in grade 9. So I wasn't overly I wanted to keep working and keep getting better. Grade 10, we lose in the semifinals and it's all right, now we're kind of got to take it to the next step. And then we finally made it there in that grade 9 or grade 11 game. It was pretty awesome.
I'm glad you mentioned, Kyle's name and I think that's what also makes Barsby so special is kind of the depth and what you talked about as well is kind of, if coach asks you to play that position, Kyle maybe not being known as maybe the, stud running back compared to Steve. Obviously, people that kind of know behind the scenes know how much of an athlete Kyle is, know how talented he is, but how he can step up in something like a big semifinal game, big, BC championship game and, step up in those big time moments. I feel like that's what makes Barsby so special because you don't know who's going to kind of step up and be that person at any given moment. You also talked about yourself kind of making the, somewhat game-winning touchdown, big time catch. So I feel like that's what makes Barsby so special is the amount of great players and you don't know where they're coming from. I know you weren't a part of the, I believe it was in 2012 where Mount Doug came up and played the seniors. I know you played them at the junior level, but I would have loved to see that Mount Doug team come up and play you guys in 2013. I think that would have been a hell of a ball game as well. Just given the talent on both sides of you guys' offense and defense, I think that would have been quite the matchup. I know even the year before, the seniors handled them quite well and was definitely in that ball game for a majority of it. So definitely you mentioned as well in the preseason kind of how you guys held on to that loss against a AAA school that you wouldn't see them down the road. Just Rob kind of, knowing the potential of you guys, knowing the greatness of you guys, kind of where you guys wanted to head. Let's throw a nice, highly powered AAA school on the schedule. Let's see how you guys compare. And you guys almost take them out with the Jamel Lyles, one of the players of the year for AAA, one of the players of his class. So just adds to your guys' greatness. Obviously, you guys go into that summer, you guys graduate, a very veteran, a very talented, with a lot of resumes, Sean Arabsky's, Kyle, Steve, a lot of those guys, obviously Brody Taylor's. And then you guys get to come into your own in grade 12. I do remember going to, I kind of specifically remember the strike to start that year and us kind of practicing at Harewood Field together. But take us through your senior season at John Barsby. Obviously, you mentioned going into grade 11, you're kind of starting to feel like you're coming into your own, coming off a high of a championship. But I know that high wouldn't kind of keep you guys, arrogant or cocky. I know you, if anybody, would kind of stay motivated and stay hungry to keep proving your greatness. So what was kind of, I guess, your mindset coming into your grade 12 year, obviously knowing that the last time you guys were the seniors on the team, that you guys kind of didn't fulfill what you guys felt like that you guys would bring home. So what was kind of the mindset going into grade 12, and then take us through your final year at John Barsby?
Yeah, so going into grade 12, like we said, we're in grade 9, win with the older crew. Grade 10, loses the veteran guys. Grade 11, win with the older crew. Now it's time to our last shot to really prove ourselves as the leaders, and that we can uphold our end of the bargain, And so we went into it, like we said, that throws it back. We're in the Harewood Field doing practices. I don't even know if that was totally allowed, but we wanted as much work as we possibly could going into that season. And I was definitely coming into my own. I was taking training even way more seriously. I was getting way stronger, way faster. And first kind of season, I was I think I'm at the size I need to be. I'm fast. I can move. I know what, I felt really good going into that year. And, we say we didn't have a lot of arrogance. I had a bit more but maybe just more vocal. I know going into that first game, we had a reporter come and talk to us, and they're like, what do you think about this game? And I was like, well, we're gonna win. And but that was our mentality, was we're gonna win every single game. Put us on the field, whoever's in front of us, we're gonna win, and that's what we did that year. And we had an amazing year. Other guys came into their own, really took it another step. We had a lot of guys come in that we were trying to recruit. Chris DeGucci, he was always a basketball guy. We finally got him to play. Had an unreal senior season. I know, I stole a pick from him, and he's still probably upset about that one. But we had a great year. We set out, we had high expectations for ourselves, not only winning games, but also we also wanted each other to individually do well too, not we wanted to have some individual recognition for everybody on that team, because we had been putting in so much work, and we knew that each one of us deserved it. So we took it to another level that year. I know we were flying on all cylinders. Anything that coaches asked of us, it could have been a crazy play that the coaches drew up for us to try and thought we could do, or it could be the most basic, simple play, and we wanted that one to go to the house every time, and we just took it we really came into our own. All of us, we're playing unreal. North was playing absolutely unreal that year. We had a lot of guys. O-line was beast. We had some guys that had played O-line a lot, and they don't always get the recognition that they have, but our O-line was absolute beast, and some of them were even undersized for the game, but they were gritty and put their nose down and just worked, and that's what really led us to be able to make some big plays. And it was an amazing year. I loved it.
I have to take the chance to kind of add, when you talk about the recruiting part of things, you talked about Chris kind of joining the things. I know when our kind of friendship started to grow a little bit, obviously your mom worked at kind of pretty much at my high school. The recruiting from my side of things with you and North obviously started to pick up. Obviously there was some talks of hopefully trying to get you guys to come play, mostly jokes, but would have been obviously super cool to play with you guys, but that's where kind of our friendship started to grow from there, and really kind of having a friendship off the field, and us starting to grow more. So getting into grade 12, you finish it up with a championship beating Mission. Your kind of rival that you kind of have grown here. Obviously, you guys have met them. I believe it was 2 out of the 3 years, and then Carson Graham in there as well, that you guys won championships. So you guys end up kind of handling, obviously the big player that you mentioned with in their offense that year, Jesse Walker, playing quarterback, obviously not a position that he predominantly plays, a receiver, more so running back, but they kind of ran that Wildcat sort of style offense where they kind of just snapped him the ball, and it was kind of, student body right, student body left, let Jesse try to kind of, and that's what he did for a majority of that year, right? And your guys' defense really stepped up and answered the bell, and really, I would imagine left quite a bitter taste in his mouth and in those Mission Roadrunners' mouth to kind of end their careers. How special was that for you? And then kind of, how do you look back at your Barsby career and how special it was? Like I mentioned, you guys almost were 5 for 5.
Yeah, man. I mean, that grade 12 championship was a lot different than our previous championships, because we were in close games down to the final plays on our previous two wins, right? So going into that championship game, I remember being so confident in our guys. I have a moment, maybe seem a little cocky, but we walked in, we kind of like got in the locker rooms, went out onto the field, and I looked over and I saw a bunch of the Mission guys standing over there, and they all, like, as soon as saw us, kind of turned away, and I was like, game over, boys, we just won. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? I was like, we just won. They're not ready to play us. They're not ready for what we have in store for them. And we had some amazing moments during that game. It was really, I remember pretty much right off, we scored really early. Trent Anderson had an amazing game. And everyone had amazing games, seriously. And I remember just talking to the guys, being like, this is when I felt like I was one of my best leadership moments, being like, hey, we need to stay in the middle here. We can't go high. We can't think that this game's won. We played in enough big games to know that as soon as we ride high and we think that we've got this thing, that's when they're going to come back and make some big plays. So we need to just stay in the middle. That's what I was yelling the whole time. Just stay in the middle, keep grinding. And when that final whistle goes, then we're going to take it over the top. But it was an amazing experience. Like I said, I was blessed to be to get MVP of that game, but you could have gave it to really anyone. It was an amazing experience. And so many guys made amazing plays. And yeah, man, and then that was the final, get back for those losses that we had over the years, and finally prove ourselves as up there with the older guys ahead of us, and really solidify ourselves as one of the best groups to come through Barsby. And that's saying a lot to go through, at least the most winningest or most achieving, right? So that really capped us off, and we were really confident in that year. And but it took all those years of training, all those years of stuff in the off season, and getting closer, and learning how to play the game right. It was that final game was a culmination of all those 8 years, all of us going through Pee Wee all the way till grade 12 was, and to cap it off that way, it couldn't have been any better. It was a storybook ending, right? And it was absolutely amazing. Blessed to play with those guys. They taught me everything that I can, and really helped shape me to be the person and the player that I am. And coaches were absolutely amazing and did everything they could for us, and not only on the field, off the field, to make us better men in the communities and stuff. So to end that year like that was absolutely special.
So you end your high school career as a 3-time provincial champion. As you mentioned, MVP of your senior provincial championship game. You end up going to Team BC and representing as a defensive back as well to end your high school career. And then kind of you set your sights on obviously with the confidence you carry on, probably a bigger goal of finding an opportunity to go play some post-secondary football. for those of you that are probably our guests that don't know Cole or that aren't familiar with Cole, you're probably around, maybe 5'9", 5'8".
5'9". Come on, give it to me.
We'll say 5'9". And I've always been like you mentioned, a heavier guy around 195, very fit, very strong for your size. But maybe the recruiting probably didn't come as maybe much as maybe you'd like, and then you end up obviously settling with our hometown Vancouver Island Raiders. For a player of your caliber with the resume that you have behind yourself, like I mentioned, the multiple-time provincial champion, MVP of the AA provincial game, a Team BC player, you'd think probably you would lean towards going to a CIS route or something like that, maybe even down south. And I know there were some other things that went into it as well, kind of schooling and maybe not wanting to rush into something that maybe you don't want to, seriously take for a long period of time. So take us through your recruiting, stages and kind of how you navigated through the process and how you ultimately ended up at VI.
Yeah. So, I mean, getting recruited out of grade 12, being from a, small AA school, right, gives you a little bit disadvantage. Being, 5'9", is a little bit disadvantage at the position, and not posting the best 40 times either. It was kind of hurt me a bit, but I got the opportunity to come out to St FX in 2015 to do a visit, and I actually came with Chris DeGuccier, and we came out here, and it was an absolute amazing experience. I knew this was the place I was going to end up eventually, right? But it didn't work out that way. Like I was talking to a bunch of other schools too and trying to get my name out there, but it was hard coming from a small school. And like guys or teams kind of really already had their guys picked early on that year, I know. And so I knew I was always a guy that was on people's radar, but maybe not a guy that people were ready to take a chance on because they didn't really get to know me or see enough of me just yet. So I decided to take my time with it and stay with VI. And some people might view staying at CJFL as like a settlement. In my opinion, it's not. Like if you look at every other province besides the Prairies, you got grade 13, your victory lap in Ontario. So you take that extra time, play another year of varsity, and improve it as a player, grow and be stronger and all that stuff. You go to Quebec, everyone goes to CJF right away, and pretty much the same as CJFL, a couple of years there, and then they take the next step into USports. So like I was disappointed because I knew that the player I could be or was, and that I knew I could go to the next level. And St FX really wanted me to be here. We joke about it all the time since I've been here with the coaches that they were trying to get me since 2015. And I committed there 3 times and all that stuff, and finally came out the third. But like I think a message for any young guys out there trying to get through is that it's fine to take your time through the stuff and get the right situation and grow as a player, but you can't take that time as like when you go to a CJFL team and take it easy or like expect any less from yourself. You got to like, these are still really high caliber athletes coming through. I know like through my time at BI, we played some outstanding teams and outstanding guys, the Jamal Isles. I mean, we even played Sean Simonides, who came from the Bengals preseason team, like, and we played them in BI. So like you still have so much room to grow. Don't think that like out of grade 12 that you're just like, it's very rare cases that you come out of grade 12 and like you're going to be ready for USports, let alone come in and play when you get to USports. A lot of guys redshirt 1-2 years anyways, so for me, I was like, I know I'm not using up any eligibility by staying back. I know I can get some schooling done at VIU and play VI, play good ball and get more tape out there. And so like, it wasn't a bad decision for me. And I needed a lot to grow as a person anyways. And in myself as a man, I needed to grow up a bunch. And I know it probably took me 10 more years to grow up anyways. But like, like I really used that time wisely, grew. And also understand the sport. You know, a lot of the stuff, like when it comes to recruiting, you know, awards and stuff like that, it comes down to like politics and how you play the game. You know, it's something I learned in my grade 12 year. And then into VI was that like a lot of these like awards and all that stuff, it's really politics. And then when it comes down to recruiting, it's business. So you need to learn how to sell yourself, sell who you are as a player, and what you can do for a team, and really value yourself where you need to be. Don't always take a position because you could be granted something. You know, I got offers to a lot of Can West teams, but it was always conditional scholarships. And the thing about football is you never know what's in store for you. You never know if you know, like how I've got hurt many times here, and I like tore my ACL out for a year. And if I was on a conditional scholarship, you get no money that year, and like that puts guys in a lot of tough situations. And I see a lot of guys out in Can West that have to drop out because they can't afford school because they're counting on banking on making that conditional scholarship. So I wanted to wait for the right time, and I also knew that St FX was a place that I really wanted to be. So yeah, my time in VI, like I don't classify it as any sort of settlement at all. I needed that time to grow, and those coaches and that group of guys, they helped me grow into an even better player, even better man, and then eventually a leader, right? So.
Yeah, I think it just shows how much maturity you have for a younger self when you were making this decision, as well as the discipline to kind of not settle for I'm playing junior, so I'm going to kind of let my foot off the gas. Obviously, we'll get into a little bit about your junior career here, but you had pedal to the metal and you didn't kind of look back. It was I'm at VI, I'm going to make the most of this situation. And just definitely something I appreciate you kind of sharing and mentioning that, a message for anybody watching, because this is definitely something that, for kids that are, around our area and growing up on Vancouver Island in BC, and hopefully they're able to see that, there is other avenues to get to your, final destination, your end goal of maybe it's, you want to go play university football, but you're not quite ready yet, especially with yourself, out here in BC, we play American high school rules in football. After that, right, you're right into the Canadian game, right? It's a new game. Obviously, football is football, but there's a whole new kind of learning how to approach a receiver, cover a receiver that's having a waggle and stuff like that. The hash marks being on a wider field and stuff like that. So all that stuff that comes with it. You mentioned kind of learning the game, right? Maturing. So for any of those watching, definitely a key thing to kind of hold on to and learn from Cole's experience, because it's not kind of settling for junior. You can definitely use junior. How you use football as a tool. You can use junior as a tool or as a vehicle to kind of take you to where you want to go. And Cole's definitely an example of using junior to get to your end goal. So a very prolific junior career for your 2 years, Cole. Two-time All Canadian, 2015 BCFC Rookie of the Year. I believe two-time BCFC All-Star as well for the VI Raiders. Obviously, we both grew up kind of witnessing the greatness of going to Caledonia and what that meant. Of a majority of Saturdays when you woke up and went to Cali, you were going to see a win. You were going to see a big win from the Raiders. You were kind of definitely a little bit a part of that kind of latter years of the greatness, and then getting into a few years that I was there, starting to kind of lose what we established back in the day. But talk a little bit about your kind of going into 2015 and you making an instant impact right away. Kind of remembering the tradition of Raiders football and what it meant to go to Cali, and kind of how we used to always win and stuff like that. I believe your rookie year was 7-3, obviously a loss in the Cullen Cup final, but to make it back to the BC Championship to kind of represent, obviously it didn't go quite the way we'd wanted to. But talk a little bit about that year and how kind of it felt. I would imagine felt pretty good to make an instant impact right away.
Yeah, man. So like growing up at Barsby, we, it was like almost a straight shot from Barsby to the Raiders. So we had a lot of alumni go to the Raiders. I remember here's a crazy story. We had a practice, grade 12, I believe, grade 11 or grade 12, and alumni that were playing for the Raiders came and practiced against us, full pads, full go, 100%. And so I had known all those guys, and like something I took from that, just a little sidebar on this, was that like when you're playing against like the younger guys and stuff, like when I'm teaching now and I'm going, or I'm coaching now and I'm going against guys, even though I might be older and they might be younger, I'm gonna go 100% because how else are you gonna get better? And that's what they did to us. And yeah, I got cracked by Ash Guyett, like these big boys, 22 years old, coming and beat up some high school guys. But we took it, and like that was a great experience for us to see the next level, because then it went us straight into the off season. We'll go to Raiders practices, and it was just like winter sessions where we would get out on the field, do one-on-ones and all that stuff. So I got out there lots from grade 11 on. I was at every single one of those, so I knew all the guys. I was competing in those practices, and I was playing really well at those practices. So I went into the season with like a lot of confidence in my play, and coaches had confidence in me because I was making plays against 3, 4, 50-year guys there that and playing like really well against them. And so I had a lot of confidence. I started off as halfback. For anyone switching from American rules to halfback and Canadian rules, insane switch. I was not ready. I wasn't good at man coverage anyways. In Barsby, we played zone anyways. So I wasn't that great at it. I've been working on it, but I wasn't that great at it. So I eventually made a switch to safety, and that's when I took my game to the next level. I was a hitter from back there. And I think, to look back on it, it really like shaped who I was as a player, because I started to be able to get a lot of confidence in myself and start to play the game the way that I wanted to play it, and like change things. Like you get like for me, I at safety, you get told by coaches in the playbook, it's like you line up at 15, you backpedal, and then you drive to stuff. And like, I started to like try and take the position into my own. I started line up 22, 25 yards deep, not backpedal at all, run everything forward. And everyone's like, what the heck's this guy doing? But I was still beating linebackers the holes, so on run plays. But that was the time that I started to get to really experiment with how I play the game and how the position is supposed to be played, but I can fit myself into that position and really play it the way that I want to play, so I can be successful in this spot. And so yeah, that first year it was amazing. We like, I had a great year that year. They were doing a lot of like that year. All CJFL teams were running these digs and posts and stuff across the middle, and it was me and Dexter Shea, who was the middle linebacker, and we're like the two best players in on defense in BCFC, and like we took it as a challenge. They want to try and throw these digs on us, and so we got to make a lot of big plays. And I got to break the interception record, or return record that year. If I caught every ball that I was getting to, I would have broke the record for picks that year. But that year I was focused on getting to the place. It was like different speed of the games, Canadian rules, things are flying a little different. So I was 17 years old, young guy, and I needed to learn. So I was getting once I started getting to places, and then I was able to make some plays. I started getting a few interceptions, and that was great. But it was a huge learning year for me, and I was able to start like finding myself in the game. So it was a great year, amazing guys, a lot of vets in there, and it was amazing.
Quickly to kind of rewind things, Cole, and talk about kind of a little bit more about kind of how much you grew up watching Raiders. I believe you and North kind of I remember holding the banner back in the day when they ran out for the national championship games. I remember a certain maybe 14, 15-year-old Cole in an all red Adidas tracksuit with a bandana back in the day.
That was because of I had one of my idols, Michael Schaefer, who played for the Raiders. He lived down the street from me, and he used to train me during one off season, and we would go down to the field, and we would train together. And he had this long hair. He was the best. He was MVP of the league that year of all CJFL. And so he had this long hippie hair with the bandana. And I was like, I want to be this guy. So I started doing that, and then tracksuits, I don't really know where that came from. It was my own little style that I had for a minute there. But yeah, playing with the vets and stuff, and learn from a lot of those guys. That's hilarious. Throwback to the bandana days.
Some great memories though, buddy. But talking a little bit about how you kind of took a little bit and kind of added your own unique spin to the position, lining up a little bit deeper. I definitely remember kind of hearing a little bit of banter of kind of why is Cole lining up, so maybe some jokes of what Cole's lining up so far back there. But you start to really come into your own. Like I mentioned, I believe All Canadian, BCFC All Star, and Rookie of the Year as a 17-year-old playing against 20, 22-year-olds. I guess kind of to get a little way from Raiders specifically, was there any positional inspirations for you kind of growing up at that time that you kind of modeled your game after and kind of maybe took a little bit and wanted to implement in your game at all?
Yeah. So like idols growing up were like really young. It was the Ray Lewises and Patrick Willises when I was playing linebacker. But then once I started going into safety, I was really taking a little bit of Ed Reed, but mostly Sean Taylor. Sean Taylor, RP. He was my favorite player of all time because he would hit super hard. He made it to balls, and he was able to make huge plays. And that's what I started wanting to take over into my own self. I wanted to be the hard hitter, but I also wanted to be able to make those big plays. So that was definitely my guy, Sean Taylor. That would definitely be my inspiration for players.
I see a little, Sean Taylor's definitely a great comparison or inspiration, but a little Brian Dawkins maybe with kind of how active you are with the talking on the field and kind of how crazy you are and the energy you bring on the field as well. But to get back into the Raiders side of things, you mentioned, playing with Dexter Shea. Talk a little bit about you talked about earlier of, the transition of kind of, some of those years of Barsby athletes kind of going right into Raiders. You obviously go in as a 17-year-old and you're playing with, some of the, OGs of Raiders, and Barsby as well, Dexter Shea, Big Cat, some of those guys, and Berg on offense. So talk a little bit about how cool that was and how, you kind of transition and fit right in, with a guy like Dexter on defense and how they kind of took you in and looked at you as like a little brother.
Yeah, man, they really took me under their wings, man. And, they not only helped me on the field and made me feel confident in myself and be able to go out there and compete with them, but also they made me a better person off the field and a lot of things that I needed to learn about coming out of high school. And now I don't, like I was in university classes, but different schedule. I got a lot more free time, and what do I do with it, and what am I doing right and wrong and all that stuff. A lot of people don't know. I went through after that season. So going in through grade 12, I always had to gain weight in off seasons. That was always my number one thing. I had to gain weight, and then all of a sudden, I'm out of high school. I'm not nearly as active because I was just an active guy all day, everywhere. And then, metabolism slows down. I'm still eating all this food, trying to put on weight. And then all of a sudden I look at myself going into that 2016 year and I'm 225 bowling ball out there. And I'm like, all right, I need to start figuring out what the heck I'm doing with myself and take that other side of it. Like I always had to gain weight. Now I've got to switch it and start controlling my weight, use it to my advantage. And so that was my biggest change for myself was really learning how to use or to control my weight and see how it changes and not just always go to try and get bigger. It's not always the best situation for yourself. But those guys, man, they really pushed me to be a better person, better player. And it was the Barsby mentality continued on into the next level. And we just always wanted to be better. And we knew that we weren't used to losing that many games, especially coming from Barsby. So we knew we needed to put in some extra work and really take ourselves a little bit more seriously. But also a lot of other factors to factor in when you come into come out of high school. You have more obligations off the field and stuff that you're not just in high school and playing ball. You've got other things that you need to do and take care of. And so that was a big learning time for me, those 2 years of learning how to like keep everything in balance and but still be able to elevate my game.
Yeah, you're going to university, you got football, you're throwing work in there, maybe a girlfriend. So it's a lot to balance. And I definitely I miss some of those times, the routine of going to work, going to practice and stuff like that, doing it all over again. But definitely a crazy busy schedule of playing junior, playing even university as well. So you end up finishing off a very decorative rookie year. Not really a close provincial championship against Oki. You end up going into 2016 as a guy known around the league. Maybe a little bit of surprise that you're coming back for another year. Maybe one of your one of 2 or 3 commits to St FX that off season. You come back in 2016. You guys are able to have maybe not what the season you guys want record wise, but in a lot of close ball games, you end up bringing home your second All Canadian, your second BCFC All Star. And then, one of the most entertaining games that I've been able to watch of a junior football game, but the BC semifinal against West Shore. Can you talk a bit about that season and ultimately that game as well?
Yeah, so 2016 is crazy year. We had some struggles all over the field. Not, offense was struggling a bit that year, but not only offense, we were struggling on defense in a lot of ways as well. So we had a lot of figuring out. We lost a few guys, some key pieces and leaders on the team. So we needed to figure ourselves out. And that year was a crazy year. Like, yeah, we didn't perform nearly as well as we wanted to, but we were in, like you said, a lot of close games, and we still got to play some really good football. I know, like, big piece was playing that West Shore game. Like, we were playing Jamel Lyles, he came from Manitoba, and and it's that comeback game from grade 11 that we played him again. So I took it really personal and got a bunch of big hits on him, which was a lot of fun. But he's one hell of a ball player, and obviously he takes it to the next level, and he breaks all the records that year. But man, it was a crazy year, big learning experience for myself personally, because that year I really didn't balance the off the field, on the field stuff as well. And I know it was a big realization, hey, I need to figure this stuff out now, how the off field stuff can really affect how you are on the field. And so that was a big learning experience for me. I got to play well, but at the end of the day, like, it doesn't really matter how well I play if we're not winning games, in my opinion. So, yeah, it was still like a super fun year. I got to play a lot of good ball and play a lot of really tough teams that year. But yeah, man, it was crazy.
Yeah, so obviously you guys end up going from, transitioning in 2015 from a Liam O'Brien veteran type quarterback to, a rookie Jake LeBurge, who is, a very good junior quarterback, but, a rookie. So, going through some growing pains at the time, like you kind of mentioned about the ups and downs on offense, just as a team, not really kind of hitting on all cylinders, but end up being, 5 points of, knocking out a West Shore team with, a lot of guys. Jamel Lyles, the guy that got a CFL opportunity, Trey Campbell, some of those guys on the offense, CK and Armin and stuff like that, some of those Mount Doug guys, Asher McKinnon, a lot of, USports dropouts, a coach like JC Boyce, who I believe is down in the NFL right now with Indianapolis Colts. So a super talented, you mentioned about kind of, playing in the junior circuit of, guys like Rashawn Simonize. If you go back to the year before against playing, guys in Oki, Shai Ross with Oki, Beck Fullerton, some of those talented guys, Corey Nagata, who went on to UBC. A lot of talented guys in the CJFL circuit. So to kind of come up that short, in the back of your mind, did you know that maybe that was your last game as a Raider on the island after that 2016 game?
No, actually, I was planning to come back again. I was really committed to the team at that point. I was kind of back and forth about it a lot. There was some other stuff that really pushed my decision to leave eventually. But yeah, man, I was like, for all teams I've ever been on, I was committed to them and to the team and to winning. And so like that year, I really wanted, like, after we finished, I was like, man, I kind of want to stay again and really try and help this team win again. But like, I mean, it's funny because I gave a interview at the All Canadian banquet and talked about exactly that I really wanted the team to win and help them win. But the coaches at St FX, they saw that video, so they didn't reach out to me right away. They were like, this guy's not going to go USports again, so we're not even going to try. But I ended up reaching out because of some other reasons that I decided I needed to take it to the next level that year. And so then I reconnected with some coaches over here. We joke about that continuously because they're like, oh, I don't know if this guy's actually going to come. But I knew this, and from day one, I knew I wanted to be out here because this is the place I fell in love with in 2015 when I came on my recruiting trip. I love the coaches and the place and the town, and so I knew I wanted to be back out here. So I wanted to take that jump after that, and then I also heard that some other guys were coming in. Sean Arabsy came back, and then eventually Nathan Kaiwai, who you had, Coyote, on the podcast, who ended up coming back out here. I just joke about it all the time that he just follows me and tries to take my position because he did it at Raiders, and then he came out here and did it out here after I was done. So it was. I knew that they were going to be good off, and it was the right decision to me to take that next step forward in my career and make the jump up to USports.
You selfishly didn't want to be teammates for the first time, I guess, hey? So ultimately, Cole ends up making the decision to head out to St. FX in 2017. 2017 being my first year with the Raiders. We missed the chance to be teammates, but great for Cole to kind of get that opportunity in the East Coast and really establish and set his roots down out there. Like you mentioned, a place that you knew that you wanted to go ever since you made that visit back in high school. So you end up making the decision to leave home base, leave Vancouver Island for the first time, and something that I definitely, I mentioned to Nathan when he came on the podcast as well. For anybody that hasn't checked that out, small plug, go check out episode with Nathan Cayuette. Very good episode talking about mental health, his football journey as well. But, definitely something that I kind of, dealt with or kind of maybe let kind of affect me a little bit, but just the hesitation of wanting to leave the nest or leave home, right? Of, not really being sure and kind of maybe being a little bit hesitant. I know I had probably honestly looking back on it, but when Brett went to Kamloops, I kind of maybe had the opportunity to go with him, and looking back on it, probably made the right decision to ultimately stay and not go out to Kamloops just because of nothing with the program, but probably just not taking that leap of faith. Is you never know what could happen, right? Maybe I made the connection, or maybe, I end up maybe getting a starting opportunity where I can, grow. But for you to kind of leave home and ultimately, choose, the other side of the country in Nova Scotia there, how confident were you? How excited were you for, to kind of go on this new journey?
Yeah, man. I knew the place, but then it was like, holy cow, I'm going ocean to ocean, and I drove it across the country. And that was a really realization of how far I really am from home. But, I was confident in myself. I started coming to my own, man, so I was really confident to come out here. And I knew that, I didn't really know many people out here, but I knew that the culture that was out here was really supportive. So I knew that I was going to come into a good situation. And when I got here, I ended up hooking up with Justin Holland, who actually played at Bolinas. So he was a VI guy. So I got to link up with him right away and just kind of fell right into a group of guys that stayed for the summer because I came a bit early. And so it was kind of like, as soon as I got out here and made the trip, then I was like, felt kind of like, okay, I feel confident in myself. I can make it out here. I can live on my own and I can do this thing. Yeah, man. But like having a support system out here and back home that were ready and willing to support me when I needed them was huge to be able to make that leap of faith. Like I know a lot of guys end up having that hard choice. And we're like talking with coaches and recruiting them. It's always like, do they want to stay home in a close university or do they want to make the leap out here? And I think it really just takes confidence in yourself and doing your due diligence of making sure that you're going into a good program that's going to support a guy that's like that maybe not have like people out here that they can rely on outside the teams. And I knew that I had that here. So so any of those guys that are looking to make the leap, have confidence in yourself and but really try and dive into the team and try and create a good team dynamic so that everyone can feel supported, because at the end of the day, when you're at a university, you're away from family anyways, regardless if you're in the same city or the city over or whatever you are. You could be 30 minutes away, but that can end up feeling like you're the 12 hours of flying than I am here now, So like if I was when played at UBC, it would have been felt like the same. Like, yeah, I could take the weekend trip home maybe sometimes, but at the end of the day, I was always committed to where I was at. So I would have stayed on campus anyways, and to focus on game anyway. So I think you just having the confidence, ensuring that you're going to go into a good spot, that you're supported, and having people back home that will support you as well, is the keys. But like it's definitely possible for all guys to make that jump up. But sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. But for me, it was the right decision, and I just send it at the end of the day.
I love it. So 2017 is your first year at St FX. You end up playing a little bit more of kind of a reserve role, not making too much of an impact. You get into 2018, and I believe only have one game played, but you have a very good one game played. I believe a couple interceptions, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But you also have, if I remember, your first significant injury of your career. You talked about, I believe you tore your ACL that season as well. Take us through a little bit about that, of kind of how you, I guess, maybe overcame that, how you dealt with maybe some, whatever was going on in your head at that time of, never really having to sit out of a season and having so much success in that first game and everything you dealt with.
Yeah, man. So like I was talking about, when you come into a USports program, man, it's never guaranteed that you're going to play. And like I was lucky enough to dress and make an impact enough to dress for the whole year. But I made a real big point of myself of being whatever the coaches possibly needed. So I backed up pretty much all. I backed up 4 positions on defense, so I could be the next guy that went in, and that was my role, because we had a lot of really, really good veteran guys. Yeah, I felt like I could play and with those guys at the same caliber, but at the end of the day, like, they were the vets and understood the system really well. So I just tried my best to learn and fit in and impact the game on special teams. Is the number one thing that I was sold when I got here, is get in on special teams, and you're dressing every week. And if you're dressing every week, then you're backup. Anything can happen in the sport, and so like give yourself the best opportunity to get into the game, and so that's what I did. I still got a few chances to get on the field. I played really well on special teams, and made my impact there, and was a role player for the team, and kept my head held high the whole time. And so then going into the next season, I'm ready to go. I felt in the best shape of my life. I trained harder than I ever trained in my life that summer. A guy named Jeremy Fania out here, he stayed for the summer. Me and him pushed each other harder than I've ever been pushed in my life. Shout out to him. But unfortunately, going in this training camp, we go and like I'm looking to go straight into my starting position. Like I'm the guy, and I'm fully coming out in best shape of my life. And then just in a training camp drill, block shed drill, try and spin off the block, and tore my ACL in training camp. And it was really unfortunate. It was really weird situation. Because all our trainers did the Lockman's test on it to try and see if it was torn. They all didn't think it was, but then it was kind of like, okay, go to see a doctor. And then, but I'm sitting there the whole time thinking it's not torn. And then they're like, go see a doctor, go see a doctor. They don't think it's torn either, but then they're like, oh, maybe we'll send you for an MRI anyways. And so I missed the exhibition game, was just waiting to see. But then me to go back to the competitor and me in the drive, I was like, I'm good. I got to be ready for that first game. And so I was out there sprinting. I was doing everything, like ready to go. And then so I went and get an MRI and waiting for the results to come back. But I'm like, no, it's going to come back fine. So I went out and I practiced one day, and then I was going full practice the next day on the Wednesday before playing St. Mary's. And one of the trainers came up to me and was like, was like, I got to talk to you. And I was like, well, okay, like, you got the results. I'm all good. I'm ready to go. And she's like, no, your ACL's torn. And I was like, you're joking. First was thing I said. And then I was like, don't tell anyone. And because I was ready to go and I felt ready to go. So I went out and I went straight out to warm-ups. And then Coach Waterman, I'm like, God, give my props to Coach Waterman, best coach I've ever been around. He's an amazing guy, best team builder I've ever seen. But he pulls me aside and I'm like, oh, here we go. I'm out. I'm done. And he's like, you're good? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good to go. You see me. I'm running. I'm everything. And he's like, all right, I know guys that have been able to do it before. And if you're able to do it, I got confidence in you. So the only people that knew were the 3 trainers that we had and our head coach, and I think maybe the defensive coordinator. Nobody else knew. I didn't tell my girlfriend. I didn't tell my mom. I didn't tell nobody because I didn't want anyone to lose confidence in me and think that they needed to cut. Like, I didn't want any players to know, especially because I didn't want them to think that they had to cover me because I was hurt or anything. So I went out and St. Mary's, no ACL, no brace, no nothing. Then went out and had an amazing game. I had 2 picks and some of my best plays that I think I've ever made. My first pick in USports is probably my smartest play I've ever made in football. Like, it was a development of a bunch of plays and read the quarterback, baited him into a throw, dive and pick. But that was on one ACL, you know? So, but after that game, well, and it was funny. Then Liam O'Brien was on St. Mary's. Talking about Liam O'Brien, he played wide receiver, so like kind of tight end body guy, huge dude, you know, 230, 240. Like, I'm being generous probably, but but he was playing Y, and I got I kind of tweaked my knee after my interception, partially the jump for the pick, partially a little bit of celebration, but kind of was getting taped up, and then we turned the ball over on offense, and I was like, get out of the way. I ran out onto the field, and the coaches saw that I was just kind of gotten hurt, so they threw a screen pass to Liam O'Brien in the backfield, and I flew up, made the tackle, and it was a huge game for me. But after that game, my knee was swelled up, and we're like, maybe I can like take another week and then go. But then we realized, hey, I can get the surgery done really fast, and I won't lose a year of eligibility if I don't play another game. So we decided to go that route. But yeah, I mean, and then the recovery was crazy. Like, I had one of the fastest recoveries because we had a weird year where a lot of guys tore a ligament in their knee. So we all banded together and did our rehab, and we were another guy, Carter Malik. We were addicted to recovery. Like, we did everything, every single thing we did every day was geared towards recovering, and we both came back within 4 to 5 months. We hit all our PRs and lifts, and we were like flying, and I was ready to go for spring camp. I didn't wear a brace. I didn't wear nothing. I was ready to go. So it's a crazy time, man. Crazy time to look back at.
It is a crazy time, and knowing you, it doesn't surprise me, but it does all at the same time. Crazy story. So you end up having to go through that whole process of kind of having to rehab a significant injury, and then you go into 2019 and have yourself quite a good season. I believe you were an AUS All-Star. I believe you got an invite to the East-West Bowl kind of game that year, if I'm not mistaken. And then kind of, but I've said it a few times, but it's been bittersweet for me that, sweet, unfortunately for me, that I had to, kind of watch it from the sidelines, but bitter that knowing a lot of my good friends that kind of lost, maybe their careers or maybe a season or two to the pandemic. How frustrating was that for you to kind of, come back from the injury, prove yourself on the field at the USports level, be a US All-Star, get an invite to, rep or, show yourself in front of CFL talent evaluators, and then you get kind of that opportunity taken from you because of the pandemic?
Yeah, man. Like, it was really tough. You get that invite, but in the back of the mind at that point that it was kind of up in the air if it's even gonna happen. So, man, once it kind of came out that it wasn't gonna happen, but I got the invite, it was like a really big honor to be considered. But then it was kind of like, you know what, like, focus on the next thing. You can't dwell on that stuff in this game. And it was like, what can I do next for the team? Because that's always been the player that I've been, is focus on the team and what I can do. And so it just turned right back into, like, I can't sit here and dwell on my own individual shortcoming with the pandemic, because we're all going through it. So I need to be here as a leader and support the guys here and be that positive guy and move forward. So it just turned into, what can we do to keep guys close, and what can we do to still improve and be ready for whenever that they give us the call to be able to play. And so yeah, it was tough look for me, kind of like shook up my chances to do much more after that. But I was just looking for the next opportunity to play. That was always the next thing, is just try and figure out when's the next time, right? And so yeah, it was big out, but everyone went through it. I couldn't really hold it on my own self and keep my head low. Is just move on to the next thing and continue to get better.
So the pandemic wraps itself up, or I guess in Canada, kind of stuck around a lot longer than expected. But you get into 2021, there's football again. You end up being a part of, the second AUS title that you were a part of in your time at X. You obviously don't end it in the, end goal of a national championship, but you make it to another national semifinal. I believe it was in 2018. You guys made it to the UTEC Bowl as well. Looking back at your time at X now, making an impact on the field, kind of everything that it's done for you, on and off the field, giving you a new life out there in the East Coast. How do you look back and cherish your time at X now that it's over? Like your playing career, not your coaching career and your everything else you do, but how do you kind of look back and cherish your playing career at X?
Yeah, man, like I'm entirely grateful for my time out here, and I think I'm a big person for guys to look at, because unfortunately from my times here, 2018 I was injured, so I didn't get to win that Lonely Bowl. Then it was 2021, and I ended at homecoming. That was my last game with my final concussion. That was it, so and then I had to decide to call the career after that, because just for my own health and safety, took too many hits to that over the years. So but man, I'm entirely grateful, because now I get to coach, and I get to be that guy that people look at and say, like, he's still stuck through and grinded during all that time, still brought all that enthusiasm that I do bring. And like, I didn't even get like that glory on the field during those championship games and stuff, but like, it didn't matter to me because the boys were winning, and I knew I had impact on the team, regardless if I was on the field or not, because I was, during the off season, I was the guy who was pushing everybody to do even more. We got amazing leaders out here throughout the years. So it was like bittersweet in a lot of ways in my career here, but like, I wouldn't trade it for anything the way it went. Amazing life experience, and made me into a much better person now than and I'm entirely grateful for the coaches and the players that I got to play with and be around out here. And now it's just kind of continuing that as a coach and trying to like do my best as a coach and going forward.
You talk about taking your fair share of concussions, but I believe you've given out probably just as many or double the amount you've taken, buddy. So just definitely, and I know you would as well, holding your head high, your career, man, and looking back at something special, because you earned all your your achievements and accolades, and obviously all the championships that you won. Maybe not being a part of them, but or not being on the field for them, you definitely were a big part of them, like you mentioned, of kind of pushing guys, being the supporter that I know you were on the on the sidelines and stuff like that. So just definitely thankful for you, number one, coming on the podcast and kind of sharing your experience, but definitely someone that I look up to as well, and kind of admire your career and everything you've done, dude. So 2021 was a special year for you because you got to play with a few guys that came out from BI. You mentioned Nathan Cayuette coming out, and kind of I mentioned on the podcast that he was on following in your footsteps of kind of being that BI defensive back going to X and really making an impact, creating an impression. Also someone that you got to play with, and that someone that probably looked up to you, Zach Taylor, another Barsby guy that made his way from Vancouver Island out to the East Coast. So how cool is it for you to kind of reconnect on some of those connections and, other connections around BC that some of those guys that I know you kept apart with, you talked about the guy from Bolanis. How cool is it to kind of, play and finish off your career at X playing with, Nathan and Zach?
Yeah, man, it was amazing. Once I started get word of the guys that were coming out, Zach and Coyote, it was amazing because I didn't really know Coyote. Like I came back one summer and everyone was saying like that there's this guy that's just like Cole that plays and he's absolutely nuts, and I was like ain't no way he's as good as me. Just kidding, but like that was my mentality back then. But I was really excited to finally meet him and see what kind of guy he was. And so when he got out here, I went straight up to him as soon as he got into town, and we connected right away. And he like props out to Nathan, man. He's a different kind of character, just like me, man. We're cut from the same cloth. And when he got in, like I was still going, so he really wanted to learn from me and learn from because I was really making that position a boundary half my own out here, and it was really controlling it and playing it at a high level. So he didn't have really much. He didn't have any animosity towards me being the guy in that position, and but he just wanted to learn from me. And then I blessed him and gave him the opportunity to play, and he just took it and ran with it, man. And he did more with that position. Continues to do more. And I'm blessed to be able to work with him now as coach and try and push him to be even a better player than I could ever be. And I'm blessed that he's out here and I can call him a good friend. And Zach Taylor is crazy, man. Like I remember being in grade 12 and he was like, grade 8 or 9 and training and stuff. And he was one of those guys during that in his age group that really stood out to me, that I knew would end up being a really high level player. And he came out here, and I was blessed to see him, Barsby guy, trying to keep that pipeline going from VI to X would be great. And so he was another guy that got to come out here, and he brought that same Barsby mentality. He was a hitter, just like me, just like all of us from Barsby. And it was great to be able to see him come out here and connect with him and meet his parents out here and stuff too. So it was great to see guys that went through similar situations as me follow my route, and hopefully I could be a little bit of a leader to them, and I hope I was, and try and help them along the path as the older guy coming through here. So, man, it was amazing to see, and we need more, man. We need more. We need to get more guys, some more spotlight, and get some of these guys out into it should be X, but like anywhere else too, like that would be fun. But like, come out to X, reach out. I'm part of this coaching staff now, so I want to continue that pipeline because I know how many good players are still out there and still going through the program. So that make me super proud to keep this thing going.
Hell yeah. Big shout out to both those guys. Was able to be teammates with them for my last year at VI. Definitely two guys that are just hard workers, hard hat, lunch pail type dudes that just will come in and work. Super big shout out, kind of having Coyote on the podcast, being able to hear a little bit more of his story and just, how much of a battler he is, how much of a competitor he is, like yourself. Just somebody that I knew that you would definitely connect with. And getting into the kind of my last few questions here, Cole, before we get you out of here. Why did you want to, why was it so important to you to kind of give back to X and really lean into the coaching transition you've made here?
Yeah, man. So I ended my career and I was doing education, and I was really starting to come into my own as a teacher, and I took a year completely away from the game. I wasn't a coach. I was just a fan that year, and I needed to figure my own stuff out, my own life and what I'm doing. And then once I got kind of approached with the opportunity to come out and help out the DBs, I was really coming into my own as a person and what I could do. And I just really wanted to take the job seriously, and really, really try and have an impact. And then all of a sudden I'm back out on the field, and that same love for the game reignited in me, and scratched that itch of football. and I was just so I was so privileged to be out there, and I really wanted to do the best job I could for the guys and be a leader out there, just like I was as a player. So, like, man, it's I love coaching, and it's something that all guys that have gone through the game should really consider doing to be able to like continue this game and ensure that people are playing it the right ways and the ways that we did back in the day, you know, and instill the love of the game, because that's what keeps this game alive. Not only at the USports level, at all levels, man. We need to continue to grow this game and give guys the opportunities that we did. You know, I think back to the guys that used to come out to coach me, and I wouldn't have been the player that I was without them. So I'm just trying to do the same thing. Eventually, I'm gonna try and do some more high school stuff and start some leagues a year to grow the game even more. And because that's what the game of football needs, man. And we just need more people that are willing to put the time and effort into to coach these kids to play this an amazing sport. You know, it makes better people, makes better community members, man. And I think that's something that I really want to instill in the next generation. I'm blessed with the opportunity at X, and that's more high level stuff, but I would love to like try and take it to the younger kids to like instill that love of the game that I had and how much it changed my life, you know. So that's the kind of next steps for me, is trying to figure out and get in touch and grow the game of football in Nova Scotia. That's really my goal.
Hell yeah, brother. Great message. Was super excited to sit down with you and have you on the podcast, Cole. It's definitely been something, just you being on the East Coast, just naturally kind of falling out of contact a little bit. It was nice to kind of reconnect and just hear a little bit about kind of some of your journeys out in the East and even some of your time here out West. So one quick thing before we get you out of here, buddy, and you being a coach now, you playing with him. I'm curious, kind of going to take it back to our Vancouver Island Raiders. Obviously, we've been, having not the greatest few years here, a few struggling past years. But, a good friend of ours, a teammate of ours is, tasked with taking over the program now, Sean Arabsky, being officially named the head coach of the program. Any advice or anything, maybe I guess just a boost of confidence that you maybe say to Sean, maybe any kids that are maybe listening that want to go to VI, or just any advice that you have for Sean and the Raiders for them to kind of, create this new foundation and new beginning for the Raiders?
Yeah, man. So the thing I'll say to Sean first, man, is I'm really proud of you, man, for being able to take this step and continue the legacy of the Raiders. I know that you're going to do an amazing job this year, and I know what you're capable of in leading guys. So I'm not worried about any context for for you, man. I know how good of a guy you are and how good of a leader. The one thing I'll say, man, is bring it back to the roots. Bring it back to day one stuff. Like fundamental skills and stuff that to be able to make good football players is the key, man. And I know like a lot of things can happen over years, but trying to keep you want to just grow the team together. And then once you get a close team, you can really do anything that you want to do. And once you get that foundation, man, and get some years into it too, man, I know it's only up for you guys out there at the Raiders. Man, building a close-knit team that has good fundamentals and knows the game of football, understands the sport, like that's what's going to create winning over time, right? Maybe it's not. Don't get upset if it doesn't come right away. It's a sport that we get very few opportunities to go out there and play. So don't be worried about one season or two. It's about just growing the team close together and trust in the process of growing the team together. And then things are going to start falling in place and like trying to reach out and doing new things and stuff like you guys have been doing and I've been seeing, man. And that's going to be the key for Sean's success, all the coaches' success, is growing the team together and focus on small things first, right? Small steps first, and then we can start taking the leaps and bounds, right? And any guys out there that's trying to come out or thinking about coming to play the Raiders, man, like one, it's an amazing program. It's got a lot of legacy. But like the guys that you guys are going into or thinking about coming into, I have no doubt they're gonna have your back every step of the way. They're amazing people, but amazing football players, minds, and they know the sport and how it should be played. So be humble when you come in and be ready to learn from these guys and listen with ears wide open, and so that you can take everything that you can. Because if you're using this as a stepping stone or this is your goal to play in the CJFL, man, like these are the guys that you're going to be wanting to learn from, and you guys are going to be lucky that this is like the first step for these guys. And I know they have high expectation and aspirations for this team and the organization, man. So like I think if there's anyone that wants to take that chance, you will not regret coming out to play for a guy for this coach and staff, and Sean Arabsky. He's an amazing dude, and he's going to be an influential guy in your process as a player.
Very well said, Cole, and definitely something that I agree with. I hope people don't try to panic overnight or maybe over a season. I think Sean's the right person to build this program around again and really set a strong foundation for seasons to come and success to come back to the Raiders. So super excited to see what Sean and the boys are cooking up this upcoming season. I expect some big things and some changes to be coming. Stay tuned, folks. We definitely are planning to have head coach of the VI Raiders, Sean Arabsky, on the podcast here. So stay tuned to the podcast feed, and it will be coming out soon, hopefully. Cole, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast, buddy. Before we get you out of here, though, I heard a small little plug, but I know you're not the biggest social media guy, but in terms of, maybe X, wanting to explore maybe the, possibilities that come into X, where can people, maybe get in contact with you, anybody on the coaching staff, any recruiting coordinators, and just maybe a little plug for, X football and why people would want to come and explore that?
Yeah, man. So you can contact me directly on Instagram. I know I'm private, but like I always see any messages that do come through. Cole Virtanen 10 on Instagram. But you can also reach out to John Speck, amazing defensive coordinator out here. He's an amazing man. He's really amazing coach, and he will set you right. You can also reach out to Dave Vanden Heuvel. That's a tougher last name to spell for some people, but man, the coaching staff out here is absolutely amazing. We've had guys that message Coach Waterman directly. Gary Waterman, you can find him on Facebook, Instagram. They'll add you right back. And Coach Waterman seriously is one of the best coaches in AUS history, one of the best in the history of the game out here. And he has done an amazing job with this program. And, like another guy that I really wouldn't have been the person I am today without him. So if you're thinking about coming out here, you can reach out to any one of us. And we don't turn nothing away. We'll give everyone a fair shot. And yeah, man, we're just also trying to grow the game out here too. So reach out to any of us. And we're looking for the next guys to come through all the time, right? So there's always spots and chances to play out here.
The premier program of the AUS, St FX. So hit up my guy Cole, Coach John. I believe I follow him on Twitter. He's a great follow on Twitter if anybody's trying to learn the game as well, posting CFL clips that kind of all 22 and really breaking down the game for fans that really are just get a nice behind the scenes of how people in USports, how people in the CFL kind of look at things from a film perspective, especially because we don't have a lot of content out there like that. So shout out to everybody at X. Shout out to Coach John specifically. Cole, big shout out to you, buddy, for coming on the podcast. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you so much, man. For anybody that's listening to the podcast today that's enjoying this, please like, comment, subscribe. If you guys want to see Cole or maybe anybody on the St FX team, Nathan Cayuette again or something like that, please comment down below. Would you like to see Cole again? Did you like this episode? All that kind of good stuff. Please subscribe to the channel. When you guys subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. You guys will get notified every time we go live, post a video, or upload any content. You can find us on Instagram or Apple Podcast at Canadian Football Fanatics for any other content or Apple Podcast episodes. Cool. It was super fun, man, getting to sit down with you. Any last words for the people, my man?
Man, I just want to thank you for doing this and inviting me on here. I've been waiting for my call up, man. I've been waiting to get on this thing. I was like, when's this guy going to reach out? But man, seriously, I love what you're doing with this, man. Shedding some light on some guys that like really don't get to get their story told as often as they really should. And growing this game, man, you're doing your own thing, being able to grow this game and shed some light on some players around Canada. I know we don't get as much light as the guys down south or anything like that, but you're doing something special with this, and I'm entirely grateful for the opportunity to come on here and speak with you, man.
Yes, sir, buddy. Let's do it again soon. Maybe get you on a live stream or something like that when the USports season kicks off. We'd love to hear how X is doing, maybe around training camp or something like that. So it won't be the last time we have you on the podcast, Cole. Thank you so much for taking some of your time out of your day, buddy. Everybody tuning in, thank you guys so much once again. We appreciate all the support, and we will catch you guys in the next episode of Canadian Football Fanatics.
Let's go.